So at the end of the session, normally upload this to our YouTube page, so that if you didn't catch anything, you can go back and watch the recording in much detail. Today, our speaker, as usual, is Rose Wakiria, and welcome everyone. Today, this will be the last webinar for this year, 2020. So I'll see you all in 2021. Last time we covered the topic, role of annuities in retirement planning, and we're going to take that further to discuss income drawdown or annuity, which one is a better source of retirement income. So I hope that you're all prepared to learn and learn a lot from today's session. And now over to you, Rose.
Okay. Thank you so much, Regina and Nova, for praying for us in that introduction. I think Regina is 1 year behind us. Regina, what happened to your 2021? I bet you've had a long day.
Yes.
I bet you've had a long day. It's been a long day. I guess we are all tired as we come to the end of the year, and we're all looking forward to the holidays and the Christmas season. So thank you very much for being here, and for being here for even the past meetings that you've been attending. It's been an interesting year. Every time we show up to have these webinars, you always show up. So we are very grateful that you have taken time. And I hope you have been learning. I hope by the end of the year, you'll say you've learned 1 or 2 things that you can apply in your own finances, even as you prepare for retirement. But also, you'd also be able to help somebody else with what you have learned. So today we learn about income drawdown. It is one of the options that you can use to access your money in retirement, especially for those who've been saving for retirement through retirement benefit scheme. That is what we normally call the pension schemes. So today we'll delve deeper. We'll look at exactly how does an income drawdown plan work. Is it for you? And we'll also do a comparison with what an annuity is. So you'll borrow from what you learned last week. And then from there, you can actually make an evaluation and to see what would be good for you. The good thing is that you can even have both of them. So join me to be with me, and please ask questions, chat, engage us through chat. If you have a questions, we'll be able to address them at the end of the presentation. So I am going to share my screen just to walk together. And for those who have not been with us before, I think it's good that I do an introduction. Just a minute. So I want to, I hope it is okay. So I'll do a brief introduction about myself for the sake of those probably who are joining us for the first time. My name is Rose Wakiria. I am a financial and retirement planner. I basically help individuals and families to manage their finances so that they can live balanced and meaningful lives. And I do this through helping them to understand themselves, how they behave towards money. We look at the resources that they have, that is your assets, liabilities, incomes, and expenses. We do an analysis. I help you set and clarify goals and even prioritize those goals to enable you come up with a plan. I work with you. I do not develop a plan for you, but I help you create a plan that you can implement and you'll be able to achieve your dream. So that's what I do on a daily basis, and it brings me great pleasure when I work with individuals and families, and we come up with a plan that they can implement and they actually feel that they're on course with their finances. Beyond that, I have written a book called Retirement Planning, Holistic Guide to a Satisfying Season. If you have not bought your copy or read your copy, I would encourage you to get one and probably spend a few days this Christmas season reading. So throughout the year, we have been trying to discuss bits from the retirement planning book. We have discussed why we should prepare for retirement, what we should prepare for retirement. And amongst the things that we discussed is that one of the main areas that we need to prepare for is the financial aspect. So we've been delving deeper on the financial aspect, and that's where we've been discussing the products. Last month we discussed the annuity, and today we discuss the income drawdown. So basically, this is a product you can use to convert your savings to enable you now have an income in retirement. So again, retirement comes with financial needs. You retire from work, but the bills don't retire. They remain with you, and some even increase. You'll need to take care of your food. You'll need to take care of your shelter. You either own a home or you have to pay rent. Your healthcare expenses are likely to increase as you grow older and there's the onset of old age diseases. You're likely to have dependents. This might be your children who are probably financially independent, but for some reason they come back home, either because their marriages are not working or they have other struggles, but sometimes they don't just come alone, they also come with children. So you might be supporting your children and their children. And if you're fortunate enough, you might still be having your parents. So you could actually be supporting 3 generations. And then you might still have workers. This could be domestic workers, people who help you around the house or around your farm, or you have a small business and you need to pay salaries. Many of us engage in hobbies. Some people play golf or whatever kind of hobby that you like doing. And even some people go into business. So in retirement, the financial needs remain. And the interesting thing about these needs is that since your ability to generate an income might be diminished, you might be strong enough, but you don't have the opportunity, or you might not be strong enough to actually do this. What you need is liquidity. You need to have money when you need it. You need to have money to go see a doctor if you're feeling unwell. If you have children or grandchildren, you have to support. You need to have money to take them to school if they need to do that. If you have a business and probably you need to inject capital, you need it at that point. So this is what makes liquidity very, very important in retirement. So these are things that are very basic, and you need to have that. And where can this money come from? We have 4 main areas where you can get your money from. One is Social Security. This is basically things like NSSF, for those who save through NSSF, NHIF, help us with taking care of our healthcare needs. You can get your income from working. Some people are still able to continue working. Maybe if you are a teacher, you can continue teaching in a private school. If you are a doctor, you can continue with your practice and some form of work. Some people even change to totally different areas. But you could also have made investments. You could have invested in various assets, and then you're generating an income from those assets. And this is one of the recommended ways that we hope all of us would be able to do that. And then there's the retirement benefit scheme. So for majority of people who are in formal employment, many of these people the employer will probably have a pension scheme. This could be either government, or it could even be private sector, or you could even have your own individual retirement plan where you are saving through, and it has its own advantages, which we have discussed in the past, amongst them things like tax benefits. So when you have all these sources, then you can convert or you can be able to generate an income that will support you. Now, for majority of us, it would be good if you're able to have a form of all this. You could be able to work a bit, maybe not wholly depend on working for your retirement income, but you can work and income. If you're saving towards NSSF, you can actually use that part of it. It's little, but it's still something. But we encourage people to really save through retirement benefits and also to make investments. Now, Income Drawdown is a product that is under retirement benefits. Now, because of the incentives that are given towards retirement benefits by the government forgoes a lot of taxes to enable you or to encourage you to save for your retirement through the retirement benefit scheme. Then in that case, they put some regulations and guidelines so as to govern how you use that money. The intention is to save long-term to give you a retirement income. So any attempt at receiving that money earlier than retirement, the government will sort of tend to recover the taxes. So you find that when you access your benefits, your pension savings before you're 50 years or before you have saved for 15 years, you pay a lot of tax. You actually pay the annual payee tax on the benefits that you access. That is over and above some limited tax-free amounts that you can access. But the other regulation that they put around the retirement benefits is how you can access your money. So we have two types of retirement benefits. We have what you call the pension scheme, which majority of us know about. The pension scheme basically allows you to access only up to one third of your accumulated fund as a lump sum. That is the money you can cash in and go home and decide what you want to do. But the 2/3 have to buy an income. And that income has to be either an annuity or an income drawdown. That is where this topic comes in. For the lump sum bits, you can decide what you want to do with it. You can buy bonds, you can put your money in money market, you can buy property, you can go into business. The 1/3, you're free to do whatever it is you want to do. And this also applies to the second type of retirement benefit savings plan, which is called a provident fund. So if you're saving through a retirement benefit scheme, it will either be a pension scheme, which you can only access 1/3 as a lump sum, and the balance has to come in form of an income, or a provident fund, which you can actually access all the money as a lump sum, and then you go and decide what you want to do with it. And in the book, I have addressed the pros and cons of accessing all your money as a lump sum and also as an income. And for majority of us, we have not had an opportunity to manage huge lump sums. So when we get 5 million, we normally feel like that money is too much. We can never finish it. And many of us run out of that money within a year or 2 years. So it is encouraged that for majority of people, you can access your money through an annuity or an income drawdown. Last week, we addressed the annuity last month. So today we addressed the income drawdown. Have you ever heard about income drawdown, or is this the first time you're hearing about it? An income drawdown, when you think income drawdown, you think control of how much you can access. It's like a tap. You can use a lot of water to wash your hands, or you can actually reduce that water to a trickle. That is what an income drawdown does to the income you access in retirement. So you have control over how much money you can access, of course, within limits, which we will see, and of course, depending on the amount of money you have accumulated. So this is a contrast to an annuity, which once you take an annuity, it comes with fixed terms. You receive this amount of money. It could grow year on year by a certain percentage, but even that is fixed, and you can access it for life, and that's it, and you cannot change that. But when it comes to an income drawdown, you can actually change that, and that is what we are going to see. So how does it work? Basically, this is a retirement benefits product, just like a pension you are saving in. This is another retirement benefit product that is regulated by Retirement Benefits Authority. And then it's offered through schemes. Majority of us are either in an employer scheme or an individual scheme. So some employer schemes, especially the big ones, are developing their own income drawdown, so that just like previously, you may have heard about the defined benefit scheme, or like what the government has, although it also now has a defined contribution scheme, where when you retire, you still continue receiving an income from the scheme. So some schemes can actually create an income drawdown within themselves, and they are able to pay off their members from the scheme. But also we have other financial institutions who set up these income drawdown funds, and anyone from any scheme can actually come in and deposit, invest their money in the income drawdown fund, and then they are paid for. So we are talking of companies like Britam, ICA, Liberty, Kenindia. We are talking about Gen Africa, amongst others. I've just named some of the funds I know of head. So you don't have to do it with your employer. If your employer doesn't have an income drawdown and you want to take it, you can actually go to a financial institution, and this is allowed by law. So how does it work? You bring in your lump sum, and this can be from your pension funds, but it can also be from additional savings. It doesn't have to be just from your retirement benefit scheme. All you need to do is to inform the provider that this component is coming from my own savings and this is coming from retirement benefit scheme, so that they're able to take care of the taxes. So unlike annuity, income drawdown is an investment product, because what they do is that they invest the money, and at the end of every year, they evaluate the fund and they're able to determine that the fund has grown by this percentage, just like in your pension scheme. And then they deposit the interest into your account. And then again, the funds are reinvested and they keep growing by compound interest. There are various products in the market. There are those which are guaranteed. And by guaranteed, we mean that they guarantee your capital. Okay. And they also guarantee a minimum interest rate. So for instance, unlike many other products, this one I will specify certain products I'm very conversant with because there are very few in the market. Annuities, we say there were like more than 18 providers. Income drawdown, there are few. Now, insurance companies are the only companies that provide you with a guaranteed option. So at this point, I am very familiar with Britam Income Drawdown because I was involved in its design and implementation. And I'm also very familiar with ICA Limited, their Income Drawdown Fund. So they both guarantee the capital and they also both give you a guaranteed interest rate. Some give you a guaranteed interest rate for the entire period of the contract and some for a part of the period. So guaranteed means you'll never lose your capital regardless of the investment that is made. And then we have non-guaranteed options, which will normally be offered by companies that are not insurance companies. Now, most companies will try to invest in a manner to guarantee your capital and probably to give you a minimum interest rate, but non-insurance companies can never give you a guarantee because by law and by design of the companies, they're not allowed to do that. And the interesting thing about the income drawdown is that once you put in your fund with the provider, you can actually now draw an income. That is where the word drawdown comes in. You're actually drawing money from the fund, and the regulations require that it must provide you with an income for a minimum of 10 years. Those are the basics of an income drawdown. So what are these rules and regulations that have been put down by Retirement Benefits Authority that every income drawdown fund must comply with? There are two main rules, and these are that the income, you must draw an income from an income drawdown fund for a minimum of 10 years. This is because, like I said, remember, you can regulate how much money you access. If you access too much, you can actually run out of your funds before 10 years. So the government thinks 10 years is a good point, a good minimum number of years. And then it also puts the maximum. You can regulate how much you access, but the maximum you can access is actually 15% of the fund. So if you have 15 million, then the maximum you can access, for example, in the first year is 1.5 million. Not 1.5 million, but what is 15% of 15 million? Is 2.25 million. If it is 10 million, then the maximum you can access is 1.5 million. So these rules, the two rules must be met. So it might mean that how you access your money will have to be modified. Sometimes you might access more, sometimes less, but the two rules must be met. And then after 10 years, in case you have a balance, because it is possible to have a balance, and we will see how you can have a balance, then you can opt. At this point now, it's optional. You can opt to continue with the plan, continue accessing money from the plan, or you can buy an annuity. At this point, you'll be much older, and you're likely even to enjoy better rates. But also you have the option of accessing the lump sum that is available at that point. So it's quite a flexible product. You can continue with the drawdown, you can buy an annuity, or you can access the lump sums. Those are the conditions for the income drawdown plan. So I just want to give you an illustration of one quotation I did for one of my clients, just to illustrate how that would work. So my client had just turned 61. And the amount of money she needed to put to provide her with an income was 8.5 million. Now, when you're doing this, you ask for projections. We call them projections because it's not a quotation. An annuity is a quotation because what they quote is what they will give you if you sign up. But a projection, they have made a number of assumptions which might come true or not come true. For instance, one of the assumptions is the interest rate. This quotation assumes the fund will return an interest rate of at least 10.5 year on year on average over the next 10 years. but the actual performance is declared on an annual basis. So for example, the provider, these clients took, the first year they were not able to do 10.5. I think they were able to do 9. The next year they did 10. So sometimes these projections might not hold. So this client had an option of accessing any amount of money from 0 all the way to how much? To 1.275 per year, which is basically an equivalent of 106,000. But they settled down for 80,000 per month. And the advantage with this, as we will see, is that you can make that decision on the first year, but you can change it as the year progresses. So just for projection purposes, this is equivalent to about 11% of the fund. And then it was estimated that the interest that will accrue that year from the fund, even as they access money on a monthly basis, was going to be almost 800,000, and the closing balance was going to be 8.3 million. So if she continued accessing the same amount of money, 80,000 per month for the 10-year, you realize that the percentage will be changing in the sense that the fund is reducing. So while the first year it was 11%, the next year is actually 12%. And as you go down to the 6th year, it goes to 13%. By 10th year, she's actually accessing the maximum she can access at that point. So as you can see, the fund is coming down, is reducing because of the amount that she's accessing, but there are various options that she could take. She could reduce the amount of money she's accessing, or she could even increase the amount that she's accessing, and then she could access more in the first years and then reduce what she receives in the last years. But basically, this is just a simple illustration. There are 2 other numbers I would want you to note. One is the total interest. An income drawdown ensures that your fund is growing, especially when the rate of return is good, because this money remains invested even as you access it. It's totally different from what would happen if you had put this money in the bank, where it was not earning an interest. You'd just be drawing on the 8.5, but here the interest has actually accumulated to 7 million. And then the closing balance at year 10 is 5.9 million. And this is the amount we said you can either continue with the drawdown plan, or you can buy an annuity, or you can actually access that amount. Now, depending on whether this is the right product for you or not, we will see. What some people do is to try and maintain the principal and only access the interest. So you can actually decide, you'll be determining at the end of the year how much interest was made, and that's what you access, and then you maintain your principal. Again, it depends on your circumstances, but that's how an income drawdown works. So from there, from that explanation and that illustration, what are the upside, what are the good side of this product? The key thing about income drawdown is flexibility. It gives you flexibility in how you access your money. You can actually put in your money in an income drawdown and decide that you will not access it. This is because you're given an option of saying at the beginning of every year how you want to access your money. So you can actually tell the provider, this year I don't want to access any money. And you can defer that for 1 year or for as long as you want. Some people say, I'll only access this money when I think I need it. That could be a few years down the road, or you might never even need to access it within 10 years if you have other sources of income. So how you access your money is flexible. The frequency of how you access your money is also flexible. You can start accessing every month. Next year, you can decide I want to access every 2 months or every 3 months or once every 6 months or even once a year. You can take your whole amount and take it. So that's the other flexibility that you don't get with annuity. Amount of income, like I have said, you can decide not to access any amount, or you can decide to access a certain amount this year and change that next year and the next year. So it becomes very, very flexible. Good thing about it, if, for example, you're still making money elsewhere and you want to put in more money, you can actually inject money into this account. Unlike an annuity where once you have bought it and you even have more money, you'd have to buy another policy. But this one, you can actually put in money even as you're taking out money. And then the advantage of being able to convert this income into an annuity at a later date makes this product very, very flexible. Now, one of the key things that is very attractive about this product is its ability to leave a lump sum to your beneficiaries. An annuity, depending on the provider, majority of providers in event of death, they continue paying an income to the beneficiaries for the remainder of the guarantee period if the annuitant or the client dies before the guarantee period is over. So for instance, if you are taking a 15-year guarantee and you die, the client dies on the 10th year, then the insurance company will continue paying an income to the next of kin for the next 5 years. Very few providers will normally give up a lump sum for that amount, but with income drawdown, they'll just look at the balance at that point, and that is what they'll pay to the dependents or the beneficiaries. So this becomes a tool you can actually use for wealth transfer, where you say, as long as I'm alive, I want to make the maximum use of these funds, but on death, I would want this money to move to the next person as a lump sum and not as an income. And being a retirement benefits product, then it doesn't wait for the succession process. Remember, in event of death, for you to access other assets other than insurance products and retirement benefits products, you have to go get letters of administration, and then their assets can be shared. That takes a period of a minimum of about 6 months. But with retirement benefits, immediately you have a death certificate, then your next of kin will be able to access these benefits. So this is also a tool you can use where you know that in event of your death, your family would need immediate resources, then this would ensure that they access that, and they would be able to access that in form of a lump sum. That's the good side. What's the dark side about this product? The dark side about it is that, as you have seen, the income, the amount of income you can access cannot be guaranteed, in the sense that it depends a lot on the investment performance. So if the returns are good, then you can actually sustain whatever amount that it is you want to receive. For example, if your interest is to receive 80,000, then you can sustain that. But if, for example, this client wanted to access 90,000, we realized that towards the end, they would have hit the 15% mark much earlier. And that means the last few years, they wouldn't have accessed the income that they wanted. They would have received less than 90,000. Therefore, you have to then recognize that your income will be decreasing, might decrease as you go along, and you have to make alternative arrangements to meet your budget or to meet your expenses in event that the performance is not as projected. And that happens a lot. Actually, for all the income drawdown funds that have been there, I'm not aware of any provider who have been able to operate consistently at the targeted rate. Some years they do better, some years they do less, so that can have an impact. It's important to know your risk appetite, because in event of investment, especially for non-guaranteed funds, funds outside the insurance industry, depending on how they invest, I know most of them try to invest these funds in government bonds to ensure that there's minimum risk, but sometimes the return could be low or even go into negative, and your capital can actually be affected. So being in a guaranteed environment protects that. Being in a non-guaranteed environment could cause that, although we have very few cases of that. So know your risk appetite, and if you don't have a high risk appetite, go for a guaranteed fund. If you have an appetite for risk, of course, sometimes you could get very good returns, but you could also lose part of your money, then you can use non-guaranteed. And then the other thing is that this income is not guaranteed for life. So imagine you retire at 60, you draw the maximum that you can draw. Chances are by the end of 10 years, you won't have much, if any. Now, what happens to you at age 70? Income drawdown, if not well structured, you actually run out of money when you need it the most. At 60, you probably can still work. But at 70, your opportunities for work and your energy and ability to work is actually much more compromised. So you need to ensure that your income needs will be catered for, in other words. So in this product, your income is not guaranteed for life, it is guaranteed for 10 years. The other thing you can look out for is that these products will normally have charges. Some providers will waive charges, but they can introduce those charges. So even as you do your projections, then you need to factor in that there's potential for charges. Again, many providers, like I have said, will give very optimistic projections, and this will make you see like, oh, my money will grow by 7 million. but that is just a projection. You have to wait for every year to see the actual performance. And for instance, majority of the providers usually project at 10% or more. But last year, not all providers were able to hit that target. So the projections can be optimistic, although the rate they use, it's supposed to be an average over the period. So be wary of that. And where possible, you can actually request that you do a projection at a lower than the rate that they're using. And then it's important to notice that for majority of us, our benefits will have what we call tax-free contributions and after-tax contributions. And the two are normally different when it comes to taxes. The implication of growth on those funds is different because the tax-free contributions, which is basically up to 20,000 shillings per month, that component, when these funds are invested, even in an income drawdown, that component does not attract tax on an annual basis. But the after-tax savings, if your savings are more than 20,000 per month, that component is kept separately. And when the interest is declared, for example, let's say 10%, at the end of the year, they normally charge withholding tax of 30% on the interest. So the effective rate is actually 70% of the declared rate. So when you're making projections, you really need to take care of that, especially if the bulk of your funds has more after tax savings than tax-free contributions. I hope I'm not confusing you here. If you are in a retirement benefit scheme, if you look at your statement, you have tax-free contributions, you have after-tax contributions. If your after-tax contributions are more than the tax-free contributions, then if you do an income drawdown projection, it is likely to be more optimistic than you'll be able to achieve it. So it's always important to realize that the interest that you'll be earning will actually be taxed at 30% every year. So you can reduce the rate you're using to do the projections by 30%. Now, these are some of the things that sometimes we lose out and then we struggle later. It's a new product, yes, it's not been there for more than 10 years. I think the oldest fund in the insurance companies was the Britam one, which went into effect 2016. But if you really need that income, you really need to take care of those projections. So what are some of the similarities with annuities? The first one is that this is a tool for wealth accumulation. So it's one of the assets you can use to diversify your investments. So you buy land, you have a business, you have a bond, you can also have an income drawdown, even as you have an annuity. So let's not just concentrate on same assets. Especially the advantage with this asset is that it is what we call productive assets. It is an asset that puts money in your pocket as opposed to land, which sometimes does not put money in your pocket. So if you have a wide concentration of property, you can actually use an income drawdown as one of the assets, because as you have seen, it also leads to growth of assets. You put in 8.5, even as you access some money, in 10 years, you have grown your asset by 7 million. So it's both a wealth accumulation, a wealth diversification. I think I've addressed diversification, where you don't have to put all your money in same assets. Put some in property, some in land, some in bonds, some in fixed deposit, money market, some in annuity, some in income drawdown. And then the similarity with annuity is that it converts savings, lump sums into income. So it's a way of putting money into your pocket, improving your liquidity. It can work now, and it works very well in retirement. And then being a retirement benefits, just like an annuity, you actually defer tax. So by choosing not to access money and income from your income drawdown, because you have that option, you bring in your lump sum and then you say, I am 60, I don't want to access any money because I'm still working, I still have money, I would want to access it after age 65. You can actually avoid tax altogether, because if you access your money after age 65 and you access it as a monthly income from an annuity or an income drawdown, you actually pay no tax. So it's one of the tools you can use to actually minimize on the tax that you pay in a legal way. It's not tax evasion, it's actually tax avoidance. So what are the key differences? There are many differences, but I just want to highlight these three because they're the most important. One, you don't have an annuity gives you guaranteed amount, because once they quote and tell you they'll pay you 50,000 every month for the rest of your life, that is what you get. But in an income drawdown, it basically means that beyond a certain amount, especially if you're taking a high percentage, you cannot guarantee that you'll be able to access that amount on a monthly basis or for the rest of the plan or even for the rest of your life. At low amounts, if you are taking considerably low amounts, then there's a way it can actually work. But if you're accessing, like we saw in that case of the quotation I had, if that client wanted to access 90,000, they wouldn't be able to access 90,000 monthly for 10 years. By around eighth year, they would have to adjust that amount. Annuities give you a guaranteed income for life. As long as you're alive, as long as you provide proof of living, then the insurance companies will continue paying you an income. For income drawdown, the law requires that you have a guaranteed income, though the amount is not guaranteed, but you must receive an income from the fund for 10 years. But after 10 years, it depends with whether you have a fund or not. Some people by the 10th year, they will not have anything. That means you'll stop having an income. So it's important to note that. And then, of course, an annuity is an insurance product. Well, income drawdown is an investment product. Those are the key differences, but I believe we've discussed many others. So one of the questions we always like asking ourselves is, my money safe? And I would say your money is quite safe. It's just as safe as your retirement savings when you are saving in a pension scheme, because it's just another product within the retirement benefits pool of products. So the same rules for pension apply to income drawdown. The assets have to be segregated from the provider so that even if the provider collapsed, that business can actually be sold to another company. But I would encourage you to look for reputable companies that are strong, that are not struggling to pay claims. Do your due diligence. Don't just take a product from a company just because you've heard of one company. Do your due diligence and ensure that you're investing with a strong company. One of the things to look for is credit rating. Ratings by global companies. How do they rate them? How well are they able to pay to meet their obligations? That would give you an indication. And then, of course, how easy is it to get information about those companies? Because if it's some companies that it's very hard to get the information, you might not know when things are going wrong. But if it's a company that is open and shares information about how they do their business, then it would be a good thing to utilize some of those funds. So if you are retiring or you're approaching retirement and you're considering using an income drawdown, how do you go about getting one? Like we have been discussing throughout the last 6 months, it's important to assess your income needs. For instance, what is the minimum amount of money you need to take care of basics? Remember the expenses we looked at in the first slide. Your healthcare cost, your food, your shelter, if you have domestic workers, the hobbies that you're engaging in, what is the minimum that you need? And assess the current and future income needs. So some people will need a lot of money now, probably because they still have children in school who would be finishing school in a couple of years, or they haven't put up their retirement home, so they need to do a little bit more there. And maybe in future, they might not need as much. But some people probably don't need as much now, but maybe because of health issues, might need more income. So there's an issue of assessment. You'll never be able to know for sure, but there's a way you can gauge. And then once you know how much money you need, look at your income, the savings that you have, and find out whether you can actually access that amount of money. Get a projection from an insurance company. I mean, from a provider, it would be an insurance company or an independent scheme. Then select your provider. Go into the market. Don't just look at one. Please check all those providers. I mentioned about 5 funds that I'm very familiar with. Get projections from them, ask questions, find out what is the difference between them. Most of them will use different projections, or some have guarantees, some don't have guarantees, some guarantee for a period, some guarantee for the entire. Evaluate and see what suits you best. And then you will be required to fill an application form, and then you can transfer the funds. And the advantage, like I said, with this product is that you can also put in your money from other investments. And even as the policy starts giving you an income, you can continue to save more if you need to. So that is the process. And through Retirement Solutions, we are able to guide people on identifying suitable providers, the amount that they should use. Remember, if you're coming from a pension scheme, the minimum you must use is 2/3, but sometimes it might be prudent for you to even use part of what you could access as a lump sum and put it in your income drawdown to ensure that you meet your basic needs. So we help you through that. You can reach out to us for independent quotations, and then you can get to choose your provider. So having gone through that product, is this product for you? It sounds interesting to majority of people, especially the fact that the funds can be accessed after some time, but is it all that good? This product is not for everyone. An annuity can be for everyone, but an income drawdown is not for everyone. So first, for you to use an income drawdown, it's important that you have diversified incomes. Remember, we said the amount is not guaranteed, and it's also not guaranteed for life. So it is suitable for people who have other sources of incomes as well. So if you have invested in rental property, you have invested in bonds, you have invested in deferred annuities, you have invested in other things. We are looking at, if you don't get the amount you want from income drawdown, would you still be able to fund your lifestyle from the other incomes? If you can, then probably you can consider. It is best for people who, even if they have diversified incomes, those incomes are guaranteed. Remember what we talked about, guaranteed income. Rental property income from rental properties is a regular income, not a guaranteed income, in the sense that you must have a tenant to get that income. Income from a bond is both regular and guaranteed. So when we talk of guaranteed, we are talking about those kind of investments or contracts that specify the amount of money you will receive at a specific date, and you can actually count on it, and it will show up on that date. So if you have alternative guaranteed incomes, then that would be, you would consider this. It's also suitable for people with varying income needs, or you probably have varying needs in the sense that, for example, like the example I just gave, maybe you are retiring now and you had started putting up your retirement home, but it's not complete. You might need 1 million shillings to actually do the final touches, but you won't need that every other year after that. So probably the first year you can decide to take the maximum amount of money you can to enable you complete those projects. Or maybe you want to buy a car, or maybe you still have children in university and you want to finish they need to complete their education. But probably after 2-3 years, you won't need all that money. So you can take more money at the beginning, and then you can reduce your money, the amount you take on a monthly basis to what you need. But it could also be vice versa, or it could be in between during that 10 years. So if you have that, an annuity will not give you that option, because once it fixes the amount you need to receive on a monthly or whatever frequency, that is cast in stone. For those who probably don't even need their retirement benefits to provide them an income in retirement, but they just want to have that money invested somewhere in a tax efficient vehicle, an income drawdown would do that, and probably they want to leave it as an inheritance, then this would be one of the perfect investments that you can do that. And then for those, we encourage people with high amounts of retirement benefits or lump sums, because when you say your money will grow by 10%, and this is something like 10 million, 10% is actually $1 million. If you invest 10 million in an income drawdown, by the end of the year, you can make 1 million. That is a sizable growth. And as opposed to somebody probably with just about 1 million, and then the growth is just about 100,000. In as much as it's proportional, it's the same rate that applies. Those with huge amounts are able to see sizable growth. So this product is best suited for people with high amounts. When I worked with Britam and we developed the first income drawdown in the insurance industry, we had actually put a minimum of 8 million. And that was just to safeguard people who might want to take an income drawdown. Well, basically it is not the right product for them. But I know that that amount has actually come down to 3 million. Yet there's usually no minimum for income drawdown. I mean, for annuity products. So where especially the providers are not able to do a detailed retirement planning, like what I would probably help you with, to be able to identify your need for guaranteed income and discretionary income, and then ensure that your guaranteed income meets your basic needs. then it is prudent that if you are earning little money or your fund is small, you're better off in an annuity than probably in an income drawdown. But if you need to know whether it's the right thing for you, even with small amounts, then you're welcome to come for a consultation. So that is it about income drawdown. You can read everything that you have discussed today in my book, Retirement Planning. Everything is detailed there. Everything we have discussed, you can actually find it there. You can get this book. If you want a soft copy, you can get it from Amazon. If not, you can get it from these bookshops. We are stocking our book now in Naivas, but not all the branches. Currently, they are stocked at Nyali and Kilifi, and we are hoping to stock the Nairobi branches and Nakuru very, very soon, hopefully within this month. So get your copy today. And if you need further guidance on annuities and income drawdown, or you want me to do a talk in your organization or in your retirement benefit scheme, please reach out to me. We can do a talk, we can do a training, but I can also help you determine, help you evaluate your retirement lifestyle and put a figure to that. How much do you need to support that lifestyle? We break that down into basic expenditures and discretionary expenditures, and then we ensure that basic expenditures are covered, and that could mean either you take an annuity or an income drawdown. But for some people, you can even have an option of taking both, as long as you ensure that you're not getting more tax benefit that is necessary. So if you take an income drawdown and an annuity, then you must inform both providers if they are different, to ensure that you don't get more than the tax-free amount of 25,000 shillings per month tax-free income. Of course, we'll also help you if you won't use all your retirement benefits to buy an annuity or an income drawdown. We can help you find other investments where you can put your money to serve your interests in retirement. But remember, this product, while it is very good for retirement, it is not just used in retirement, even if it can also serve other purposes. It's just that it's annuity and income drawdown are very ideal for retirement. So again, we do more than just advice on when you want to take just a product. We do detailed retirement planning and financial planning, and we do this for people across all life stages. And this is through a 6 weeks process where we cast a vision for your finances, which include retirement. And we do this in the first meeting, we meet and I get to know you, we discuss in details who you are, where you are. We analyze your financials, and then we set, clarify, and prioritize goals. And then we do, I give you a recommendation on the investment strategy that I think that will take you to where you want to go. I teach you on how to make decisions through decision-making framework. And we also address other aspects of retirement or finances, depending on what stage you are. So our rates for this process are going up from 45,000 this year to 55,000 next year. Please plan for your planning session if you have not taken it already. Sponsor somebody who you think needs this, and we'll be glad to work with you. So again, if you're confused about what gifts to give a friend or family, please consider giving them this gift. For those who have read it, many of them have appreciated it, and they would wish somebody else also gets to know what they know. So again, this is where you can get that book. You can also get it directly from me. You can go directly to our website and order one, or you can send me an email, or you can actually give me a call. And these are our contacts. You can go to our website, www.retirementsolutions.co.ke, and you can also go to our Next Move website, www.nxconsults.co.ke. Thank you very much. Even as we prepare to go on Christmas, I just want to wish you a wonderful time. Back to you, Regina.
Thank you very much, Ruth. That session, I believe we've covered a lot. I personally feel like I have information overload, so I'll have to take time and go through it again. I don't see any questions on the chat box. Unless anyone wants to ask a question, please just raise your hands or unmute yourself, and this is the opportunity. We have around 5 minutes, and you can close at exactly 7. Okay, I don't see any questions today. I believe we've covered everything in much detail. So thank you again, Rose. As we mentioned, this is the last session of the year, and we thank God for the progress so far since we began. So to everyone, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and see you next year. But our lines are open, the email is open for any consultation. Please reach out to Rose. Yes, Edward, we'll send you the recording. We'll upload it to our YouTube platform and share the link to you via email or our social media platforms. You can get us on Instagram at Rose Akiria, on LinkedIn at Rose Akiria, and also on Facebook at Rose Akiria. So Rose can give us the closing remarks, then Nova can pray for us.
Okay. I just want to thank you very much for your participation, especially for some of you are regulars. You have been attending ever since we started these sessions. And I have learned just as much from you as probably you have learned from me. Our interactions have enriched my planning with my clients, and especially also those who have been able to reach out, those we have been able to do planning with, those who have been marketing my book. I have seen many people do that, including one of my friends here, Olive Gitao, one of my clients, Imelda. They have been doing quite a lot of work. I am very, very grateful for your support. And I look forward to continuing with these educational sessions into next year, God willing. Let's pray that God will keep us well and we'll be able to continue. And next year, I hope to delve deeper into other investment products. So investments like bonds, investments like money market, investments like what else, treasury bills, and all those other products, insurance products, all those other products, probably you have some or you have considered going into them. We will intend to discuss them because they are all part of the financial journey that we all need to go into. Feel free to share your ideas on what we can do to improve our sessions to make them more meaningful and more helpful to you. But above all, I hope you are applying these things that we learn, because if we learn and we do nothing about it, then I think we'll be doing a lot of nothing, or everything will be in vain. Now, I know Nova has prayed for us, but there's one person here probably I would request to pray for us. Reverend Sam, are you in a position to pray for us?
Yes, yes.
Please close for us.
All right, let me first start by saying thank you. Thank you for that session. It was very informative. And I was following myself and taking notes. And yeah, I know sometimes it can be quite, I think the Zoom, teaching people from Zoom, you sometimes do not know whether people are following, because you can't see us nodding our heads and so on. But we were following, and we learned quite a lot. Allow me to pray. Dear God, we want to thank you so much for the opportunity that we had to just go through the lesson that we have gone through. We thank you for Rose and the team behind her, who has been putting together this session on Zoom, and we have learned so much from her. And we want to thank you for the wisdom that you have given her. We want to thank you for the way she understands retirement investment, and how she's been willing to share that with others, and how she has been able to help many of us put that area of our lives together. And so, Lord, we thank you for the time that we had, for what we have learned, and we pray that you give us wisdom to be able to apply what we have been taught. And we ask that you would continue to bless Rose and her team. Bless, we want to commit all the plans that they have next year, what they want to share with your people. And we pray that you would continue to add to her wisdom, ability, Lord, to be able to give as she's giving right now to us. For your word says that it is more blessed to give and to receive, and we know that you are watching over her business. We pray that you would continue to teach her even these things, even as she continues to grow this business. We thank you, Lord, that we get to benefit from that as well. So be with us now in the implementation phase, and may you help us not to be slothful, and not to postpone what we need to do, but grant that we would be good stewards of the resources that you have given us, so that in the end, Lord, we will look and we will reap a good harvest, and we will be glad that we spent time listening and learning and investing. It is in Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
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 Amen. Thank you, everyone.
Amen.
Have a good night.
Asante.